This is Hannibal here from the HannibalTV.com with my daily wrestling news update. I did my Wrestling Observer review earlier as Piper was walking around down here wanting to say hello. My co-host here on the Hannibal TV. Canyon Seaman. Yes, his real last name is really Seaman. It's right up there with Jeff Gaylord, his funny last names to me. Right up there with Jeff Gaylord, rather, who is a former world-class wrestler who was also in the Survivor Series 93 as one of the masked knights, along with Barry Horowitz and Greg Valentine. But basically, this news came out about Mr. Seaman being no longer with the WWE last month, and they denied it. But now PW Insider is reporting that they received confirmation today that the senior VP of talent development is no longer with WWE. And according to Dave Meltzer, it appears the story is true. Now, I never really understood why they hired this guy in charge of basically hiring development talent and scouting talent, as his background is, I guess he was a volleyball player and he was a vice president for a volleyball league that shut down. And then he was an apprentice trader before being hired by WWE. So what his qualifications are to find talent that could go on to be superstars is limited at best. And let's think about this. He's been in charge of this job since 2012. What new stars that have really become mainstream stars have been hired since then? Zero. Absolutely zero. The last biggest star that has been hired would have been Roman Reigns, who probably would have been hired by Ty Bailey, the same guy that hired me. Because Roman Reigns was hired around the same time I was hired, although my contract didn't go through. So yeah, Canyon Seaman is gone. Apparently, John Cena being added to WWE house shows over the next month has improved ticket sales everywhere except for the Minneapolis market. The place where they sold the most tickets after announcing Cena has been added to the show has been Kansas City, which has sold an additional 1,700 tickets over the past week. And as I reported in the Wrestling Observer review, house show tickets apparently weren't selling very well in most markets. So they managed to work a deal where John Cena is going to be back on a lot of these house shows. He was also on SmackDown tonight. Apparently, Harry Smith has been back with the WWE since April. He did have as I already reported a bunch of times, a dark match on last week's SmackDown, but from the reports I read, it doesn't appear he did anything on the SmackDown tonight, either on the TV show or dark. It's unknown whether he's going to be just in the UK brand or if he's going to be on one of the main rosters or NXT. I guess time will tell. I believe his last match before going to WWE was against the Blood Hunter, where the Blood Hunter actually defeated him for that Great North Wrestling heavyweight title. And by the way, speaking of Great North Wrestling, I've already reported this. I've been searching for places to run in Ontario that are actually going to allow us to run, and I think I found somewhere for August the 28th. So I'll report on the developments of that for our Ontario fans as the news comes out. By the way, the Dynamite show that's going to be September 22nd at Arthur Ashe Stadium in Queens, New York, is at 16,403 tickets sold so far. And the capacity is 18,692. That is the show where Daniel Bryan is supposedly going to debut. So that's actually selling way better than the WWE Madison Square Garden SmackDown. So actually, overall, AEW is doing pretty good right now. I think they've graduated from competing against NXT to competing with WWE. And while I'm not an AEW fan, I'm also not a WWE fan. I'm pretty damn neutral. And I actually do like to see that AEW this week, for instance, got a 0.44 rating, which is better than Raw and SmackDown have done a lot of the times in recent months. I like to see WWE get some competition because they got very arrogant and their show is unwatchable. Like, I can't even watch the 3-minute highlights anymore. So maybe they'll have to actually put some effort into the product and stop hiring volleyball players to be in charge of recruiting talent, which makes absolutely no sense to me when a guy like Kevin Sullivan is still around and they don't even bother hiring him for the writing team. They'd rather hire people that know nothing about wrestling. And I like seeing them get some competition. And I actually hope, and I know it's probably going to happen, I hope that AEW can actually beat Raw and SmackDown in the ratings the same week. I would love to see that happen. Bill is a great man. He tipped me $20. He's one of the big supporters of the Hannibal TV, and I really appreciate that. Use that towards future interviews. And Roberto, $4.99. Well, I'll bring Piper up again. We'll buy her some tomatoes with that. Her favorite food is tomatoes and strawberries. Look, Piper, he tipped you $4.99.